Thank you, Bruce, and it's a pleasure to be with you folks today. And I think it's timely to have this gathering today. I was thinking about the remarks and what might be of interest to you, and I think we're right at a point in time where some things need to be done in this state that will make a great deal of difference in our future. And I think the first, it just occurred to me, we're a year into this administration, we desperately need an economic development plan. I know they've been working on it, and I know they've held meetings around the state. I found out in government, and this is kind of a poor way to put it, but it's true, it doesn't much matter which way you go as long as you're going in some direction. And it's constantly a shift. I mean, the Democrats will carry us in a direction, and Republicans will fuss, and then we lose and they win, and they carry us in a direction and we fuss. And it'll eventually swing back the other way. And the greatness of this country is that we've constantly done that, and our progress is a zigzag to the top. We always seem to make progress. We don't go backwards as long as we're moving. And we're in a state, our economy's in a state of malaise right now by anybody's definition. I saw where the folks in Charlotte got a report yesterday that we're kind of drifting. Our unemployment's still about 1% above the national average. We're at around 8%. There was a report that came out today that said that over the last year we've lost about 1% as a percent of our population that's employed. So while unemployment's going down, a lot of it is people leaving the workforce. Just as a point of interest, I heard this the other day, and I think it's probably so. When we did away with extended unemployment benefits, and none of us thought of this at the time, but as long as someone's drawing unemployment benefits, even the extended form, they have to look for a job. That's required. You must keep looking for a job. When you take those away, people drop out of the labor force. They quit looking. I think anybody in here would understand if you've looked for 3 or 4 or 5 months, it's awfully easy to just say, I'm just not going to go do that again today. And I think that's what's happening to us at this point, is we're losing people in our labor force. We made a move this year, and this is a direction, of reducing the corporate tax rate and reducing the personal income tax. And made a pretty big bet that people will come to this state because of that. I don't think any of it was sold based on keeping people here. It was that we need these for recruiting tools to bring people to the state. When you look at economic development, we've known all along 80 to 90% of your new jobs will be supplied by small business, and they will come from within the state. The 10 to 20% is what you get by recruiting, and you're lucky if you can replace the ones you lost with the new ones you get. That stays pretty steady. So we bet big on what I think is a small piece of what we need to do to get the state going. And we really doubled down on it because in order to fund the corporate tax cut, we did away with the $50,000 deduction for small business effective January. That will not exist anymore. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I happen to work for myself and have all my life, and I found it to be pretty handy. And I don't know how many of you were able to do it. If you have your own business, you were able to take that deduction. And in those small businesses, the money hits the street and it circulates, and it allows them to to survive, and it's tough out there right now for small business. So keep that in the back of your mind. We took that away. Now, they won't know it probably until 2 years from now, because when they file their 14 return in 15 is when they'll find out it's gone. We made another decision that I think has, I disagree with, and that was on Medicaid expansion. You know, so often we start thinking business is manufacturing, or business is agriculture, or no, it's all of the above. And I had no idea how big the medical industry was in the state. In Buncombe County about 5 years ago, it was 22% of my economy was healthcare related. Probably the same in urban areas, probably a little less in the rural areas. And we decided not to expand Medicaid, which would send $2 billion a year to this state. Now, that's money we've already paid. We aren't going to get a tax deduction from Washington because we didn't expand Medicaid. We just lost that $2 billion. It would have created over 20,000 jobs, and it was 100% federally funded for the first 3 years, I think 90% after that. And we would have been in a position to where all of our people in this state would have had health care coverage of some sort, to where they can get in and see a doctor, and we can start treating people on the front end instead of the back end. I just saw a lot of benefits to that. We chose not to do that. Now here's the kicker. Once again, just like the corporate tax cut, we doubled down on this, because by not taking the expansion of Medicaid, these are people that will be uninsured, that will not pay their bills, and they will cost shift it onto our policies. So we pay the $2 billion in federal tax. Now we're going to pay another $2 billion to cover these people that don't have insurance when they go to the hospital. That is bad for business by anybody's stretch. It's bad for the medical industry. It's bad for our local hospitals, but it's bad for you and I. It's going to be an increased premiums in policies. This state, if you look at its history, we've been fairly bold through the years. We've done things anti-cyclical at times. We put a sales tax in during the Great Depression to save the schools and roads, and we took them from the local governments and funded them at the state level. Terry Sanford did a sales tax on food to create the community college system. And we have built this great state by having a coalition with progressive business people and pragmatic politicians, and we've invested in infrastructure and in our people and in education. And this year, on roads, and I think by anybody's definition, we do not have enough money for roads in this state. We've been needing to do something about that for a while, but we had the Great Recession, and you can't hardly do anything when you're trying to save the home place. But this year, we did something I've never seen us do before. Instead of increasing the size of the pie, we just redivided it. And most of your rural areas now are getting their allocation under the equity formula, and most of them are finding out that the amount they'll get this year is about half of what it was last year. It'll end up being about 55%. So we took money from the rural areas to put in a pot to handle congestion. That means urban areas. And I've never seen anywhere in our history where we made progress taking from one part of this state to give it to another. That's not how we do business. And we're going to have to do something about that at some point in time. Plus, you're going to find that when they redistribute it, it's still not enough. Education. I don't have to tell you what the universities mean to us. just in terms of pride, we had the first public university in the country. We put in our Constitution that we will offer our universities as free as is practicable to the people. And our forefathers understood if you educate somebody, it will pay dividends forever. And we have dramatically cut these universities. I'm not going to get into the dollars. We can argue over how much and fiddle and figure, but we dramatically cut our universities. I would say in the range of 20% for some of them. And in the Research Triangle Park, I don't have to tell you what it means to this area. And they're hurting. It'll take decades for them to get back to where they can do what they were doing for this state before. Community colleges. I know from year to year we do something different, but the bottom line is we haven't really done anything there. We cut them at the same time that they had enrollment increases. Then we increased them some at the same time they had more enrollment increases, but when you add it all together, they haven't really had any increase. And if I see one glaring problem in our government right now, it is the community colleges not being equipped to do what we need them to do right now. There's not a week goes by that we don't read a story or hear a tale about someone who wants to hire somebody and can't find a qualified person to fill the job. We can fix that. I've been raising sand for years over nurses. I mean, that's a great profession. We always have a waiting list for nurses to get into community college. You can fix that. It's a high-cost program, but it pays a lot of money, and those are the jobs you want to fill. But you got to beef that program up, and you may have to build some virtual hospital beds at the community college like they did at Catawba Valley, to where you can produce more nurses through the system. But it's very doable, and I have not seen a plan to revamp the community college system, and I think we desperately need one so that we can get on that. The best I can figure out, these jobs they're talking about that we don't have people to fill, we couldn't fill them either. Instead of needing someone in a factory, they need an engineer to program a CAD machine to produce whatever it is they're producing. But whatever they need, we have the capability of producing it in the state. And then the public schools, in my opinion, the public school system is the most important thing in this country. It's more important than the Constitution. I tell people all the time when I speak to them, we violate the Constitution every day. That's what the Supreme Court's for. But every morning, those children get up and get on that school bus and go to school. They have to. And it is the great equalizer. It's the one that creates opportunity. It creates your workforce. It creates prosperity in this state. And for all these businesses that we're trying to attract with tax dollars, if you look at what they want good schools. That'll be right at the top of their list, is quality of life and good schools. Not going to go through it all, but we've cut teachers' aides. We've cut teaching positions. We did away with class size requirements this year so they can increase class size. We did away with the Fair Dismissal and Employment Act, which protected school personnel from arbitrary and capricious firings. And now we've said that we're going to put them on 1 to 4 year contracts. And I know I saw someone from the Principals Association here today. I'm starting to get cards and letters from superintendents and principals now. We've basically told them, you go in among your teaching corps and you decide 3/4 of them are going to get a 1 year contract and 1/4 of them is going to get a 4 year contract. So we're right on the verge of making 3/4 of them mad. And I told somebody in some of these counties out here, you make them mad and run them off, and you're going to go have to pay a bonus to get them to come back because nobody else is going to go there. And we made a conscious choice this time to put tax cuts in front of pay raises for teachers, about the same amount of money. And fine, I don't know which one has more priority, and I don't know which one will bear the most fruit. I know this, I'm beginning to read reports where there's a chance of a mass exodus from our public schools. That teachers now are talking about moving to other states. I saw this in the paper the other day at the state school board. Someone told the rest of the school board that his daughter, I think it was in Kentucky in her second year and was making $50,000 a year. When all of our states around us start paying more than we do, and they may already be there, our teachers, at least in these border counties, it's very easy for them to teach there instead of here. The bad news is when the teachers start leaving the schools, the good ones leave first, because y'all are going to go hire them. When you get your math and science teachers and they decide they want to go out into the private sector, you all need them. And I saved this to last because I'm truly concerned about the public schools. If we don't do something very quickly to properly fund them and properly respect them, we run the risk of having an absolute crisis in our public school system, and if it goes down, the economy will not come back up. You all know that. You know how it works. So with that, I'll leave you with those thoughts, and I promise you that we will work on our side of the aisle in any way that we can on a good economic development plan. The only thing we've seen so far is that they're going to defund the regional commissions. That's something we started, those of us that live a good distance from here, because we weren't getting the help we wanted out of Raleigh. Now the plan now apparently is to centralize it back in the commerce, and they'll handle it all. We're going to have a better plan than that. The people that don't live in the 3 urban centers of the state want more than somebody from Raleigh to help them. We've had that for a number of years, and it doesn't work out too well for us. So we're ready. We hope that you all will help us with some of these. I think they're the things I raised today, I think, are mainstream, level-headed things that we need to do in North Carolina if we want to be the great state that we are. Thank you.